There has to be part two. But so to go back to the economy as big image and not having a say in it, the whole point of the whole revolution where a bunch of white guys fought a bunch of other guys and white guys in red uniforms to be independent was we should have a say. These big decisions, we get a part in that. You are more affected by the economy than you are by the government, right? The laws that they pass in Washington are few and far between and tend not to actually influence your life that much. On the other hand, gas influences everybody's life. Yes.
Well, I've been involved in citizen campaigns trying to restrict the size of big box stores, like Costco and Walmart and some of those. Well, it's very interesting when you go on the citizen level as to what people want, because I would say, like, for example, in Ferndale, in my doorbelling around, about half the people would just as soon not have the big box stores, but about half the people just loved them and just wanted them, and environment be damned. I mean, they just didn't care. They wanted, and so I guess my question is that these corporate accountability boards are going to be very interesting, because not all citizens want what's environmentally feasible or what's socially just.
You're right, but a lot of those people are making decisions because, you know what, they can't afford to shop anywhere else.
Well, you're absolutely right, but I think they just don't care.
Well, it's hard to care when you're hungry. And, it's, and this is, like, one of the things is vote with your wallet. Support local business. Hold on one second. You know what? I'm sorry, that's BS. Because you know what? When you make $8.50 an hour and you got to work 60 hours a week, 52 weeks a year just to cut it, you can't afford to buy the $5 artisan bread down at the co-op. You can only afford Wonder Bread. Mm-hmm. And so you know what? Choice between environment and my family going hungry? I'm sorry, SEALs, you lose. You want to solve those problems? I do too. The best way to do it is to get those people out of poverty, right? Is to get them the guaranteed income that we'll talk about next, so that, you know what, now I can make an actual decision. Now I can say what is best for me. Because there ain't no question what's best for me now. I need to eat. I'm hungry. And so once we have the corporate accountability boards, and this is why all three of these have to go together, is that this alone doesn't solve anything. This alone is just another way for our economic tyranny to assert itself. But this, when you have a guaranteed income, when you have network production, allows for people to say, I'm going to hold these people accountable. I'm actually going to make sure these businesses don't buy the child labor chocolate. They don't ship these jobs away to somewhere where they won't employ. So they're not going to use environmentally destructive methods. And you know what? If the majority of people in the community support that, then absolutely the businesses should follow that. Because they are part of that community. They're not this little segregated world that they live in a bubble. People from there work there. People from there own that business. And just like they can't run around and flaunt the laws of a city or a state or a country, they shouldn't flaunt the clear economic will of those people.
You may talk about this later when you talk about bringing people out of poverty, but how do you address, first of all, citizen participation, the lack of it, and the inability for people to do it, and then also just the general ignorance of people? I mean, you've studied this a lot, you know how it all works, you put a lot of hours into it.
I work at NOSAC.
And there are a lot of people that don't feel like they should even know about it, have the time to know about it, or maybe have been uneducated for so long it would take them a lot to get there.
That's, you know what, that's a huge concern, and I'm not concerned about it for a couple reasons. One of the things I find generally is that if you are pissed enough off, you will vote, or you will do something. And that if you're not pissed enough off to vote, if you're not pissed off enough to vote, then it really must not be that bad. And, oh, well, you know, people are disenfranchised and they're trained. You know what, that happens sometimes. And especially, you know, in a lot of the bad situations people get into, they really learn helplessness. And there's no easy solution to that. But in terms of making this better, it's better that we have a say, even if some people don't participate. And over time, I think that when things get better economically, more people will feel, you know what, hey, things are getting better for me. This must be working. And hey, wait, they're doing something, maybe I don't think that's a great idea. And so maybe now I'll take part. And I think that success is going to, you know, snowball, and more people will want to get involved because people love success. Success really breeds confidence. Regarding people being ignorant, ain't no solution for that. You know, fund your schools better. That's all time. That's a human condition. And that's one of the reasons that it's important that people who do show up in places like this don't go home and do nothing. Don't go home. Don't walk out of here and think that you've done something. You've done jack. You listen to a weird guy in a suit talk. All right? You need to pick up your feet and do something. And I'm going to end this telling you what you can do, but you can. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what your job is. You can change things, even just by going up to someone and saying, hey, capitalism has to end. Here's an idea. And that alone is because no one heard that for most of their lives.
Just going on what the woman behind me said, I think even a lot of people like not in poverty that have a lot of money will still want to go to Costco because it's cheap, and regardless of how much money they have, they want just whatever's cheapest. And so I guess
could be, but then it's on you to change their mind.
Okay, so that's part of it.
But yeah, I mean that's, hold on a second. Let's not slip into the kind of thinking where we're right and they're wrong. All right, because that is the thing that leads to tyranny. If you think you're right, your job to convince them. Don't look to someone to make a system that's going to shut them up just because they have a certain. Right? That's why I love the First Amendment. Throw all the ideas out there. Let the best one win. You think you're right, and the facts back you up. Go for it. And over time, you know what? I think this is happening. I think people are that trajectory. Environment's important. We're going to die without trees. And so keep making that point, and you know what? You'll see your will enacted here. And if not, maybe your idea isn't the best idea. Who knows? Yeah. But if it's satisfactory in our political system, our political democracy, it should be satisfactory in the economic democracy.
I was just kind of, instead of going to the boards and firing those people that are bringing in the cheap cookies, why not change yourself instead of changing that corporation and go to the co-op in Barganica? Because then those will rise, and Fred Meyer's and Costco and Walmart will lower.
There are two great points. The first is, why aren't people shopping at the co-op? And then the second is, how does the system then address this sort of, we want to promote this instead of this? And I want to do the system first is that same thing is people can't afford.
But I can afford it, so I'll go there. That's what I'm saying.
Good. But that doesn't solve the fact that cheap cookies made of palm oil and child labor chocolate still very still very profitable for other places. And so you can have the personal approach of, hey, all these people I know, go shop at the co-op. Here's why it's so great, and convince them. But systemically, from the approach of you have these corporations that buy to maximize profits. You have people who really can't afford much else. When you put those two things together, it has a very predictable result. And that predictable result is cut prices, cut standards along with it. That if you can convince people to go shop at the co-op, bring them more business and have them grow, awesome. But it hasn't happened. And it hasn't happened because these systemic elements prevent it. So you have to address the for-profit mentality of these businesses and the lack of buying power on the part of people to be able to make informed choices.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it seems like under the current system, when that kind of thing happens and you convince all your friends to go to Barganica or the food co-op, I think there's a company right now, I think it's called Starbucks, where they started pretty small in Seattle, and everybody said, hey, great, here's a company that we should support, and then they
worked out real well,
Starbucks, and it worked out great, but they kind of became like everyone else, and they got bigger and bigger.
Anyone here heard of Mondragon? Smiles, I yes?
No.
Mondragon, huge. Well, not huge. Like one of the biggest appliance makers in Europe. They made like refrigerators, big ticket items. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah.
They started out as a collective. They had very strict rules about like managers can only make a certain percent more than workers, and worker equality and worker councils, and all the workers voted on everything. It was great. It was really great. And then they got squeezed because profit. They had to compete with corporations that were using sweatshop labor overseas, that could pay their workers very little, and pay their CEOs a lot, and use those guys. And so Mondragon CEOs were scalped by other companies because they were good executives, but they went for more money elsewhere. And so Mondragon now is just another heartless corporation that lives off sweatshop labor and extracted value from third world countries. It started out real good, but you didn't change the rest of that system. You still had that for-profit mentality. And profit drives everything to the right.
So is there any winning?
Yes.
Because if we shop at the co-op and everyone does it, then aren't they just going to be a chain like everyone else?
Yeah. So you're right. Personal action